Ooh, that won't work.
Of this station.
Okay, we're playing the intro.
It's time to get on the right path with Jason Bible. Get the answer to your question.
I don't know what that noise was.
I don't either. Aliens are coming.
I know, right? I'm gonna, FYI, I'm gonna try to fix it tomorrow, or maybe have someone help me, so maybe we can play it tomorrow.
All right.
Get ready. The guy that will put your fears behind you is on
All
the
right,
air
Mr.
now.
Bible.
Taking calls at 713-785-1817. Toll free 877-881-0271. Now here's your host, Jason Bible.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Jason Bible, Right Path Real Estate, post Harvey edition here on the show today. We were out essentially all last week for a number of reasons, but what a wild, wild week. I want to talk about two things today. One is the human component to this storm, and then we're going to talk about what's going to happen in Houston real estate. And I want to be sensitive because we've still got, let's be completely transparent here. They're still rescuing people. Like, the storm made landfall Thursday, week before last. And there are still people being pulled out of houses. Not only in Texas, but also in Louisiana. I mean, we are still in rescue mode here. We are still in life safety mode where people are getting pulled out of water. Our personal residence was not impacted. We're in Sugar Land, which, to be quite honest, we took 36 inches of rain. How it's not flooded down there, I have no idea. But there are a lot of military that are set up at Sugar Land Executive Airport, and they've been flying Chinooks, and mostly Chinooks, literally over our house, it seemed like every hour. So they're flying in and out doing, I imagine they're not doing rescues with Chinooks. They're probably just dropping off supplies. But just the amount of activity around this town on the rescue side is pretty incredible. So they are still rescuing folks. There are people that Sylvester Turner came out this last couple of days and said that anybody sitting in a waterlogged house, they're going to shut the power off to here on the west side of town. So that has been an interesting development, in part because the electricity is still on and some of these houses are still flooded. So they got to turn the power off so nobody gets electrocuted. But absolutely incredible last week. We saw a lot of really great things take place. Folks getting rescued by native Houstonians, other Texans. We also had the Cajun Navy come in from Louisiana to come by and pull people out of the water and provide what we've been calling it water Uber or Woobers. So we've had a lot of Woober trips, folks getting picked up from houses. If you're watching, today we're going to talk a lot about Houston, about what's gone on in the last week. So to add a bit of perspective to the folks who are outside of Houston, despite what you've seen on the national media, the entire city is not underwater. I know that's what it looks like. It's probably what it still looks like. It's confined to sections of the city. For example, the west side of town is absolutely still inundated with water. If you're on my Facebook page today, I did a drive-by of the north and the south of I-10. So the north side's got Addicts and Barker Reservoir, and then south side of town, cross I-10, is Buffalo Bayou. And you can see where all of those areas are completely out of their banks. It's a massive, massive amount of water. I have read some stuff this weekend like Houston should rebuild in somewhere else in higher water, not so close to the coast. When I keep telling these people, if you look at the places that flooded the most, they're somewhere between 60 and 100 miles from the coast. So, and the other problem is that where do you rebuild? We're kind of here. There's not really much. We really can't box up Houston, put in a couple of cardboard boxes and head north or head west. The city is way too big. In any case, so some incredible things took place this weekend or this past week. They're still ongoing. If you are listening to us and you want to help, Here's what I'll tell you. We need cleaning supplies and we need labor. We need people to come down into these neighborhoods and help remove wet sheetrock, insulation, and move stuff out of these houses. That's what we really need more than anything. We've got a lot of donations, a lot of great donations. We've had so many volunteers, they actually started turning people away at the George R. Brown. But what I'm telling you we need more than anything, and you don't need to jump on social media to do this. You don't need to put together a big GoFundMe page. All you've got to do is just get in your car, go to a neighborhood you know is probably flooded, start knocking on doors and asking people if you can help. That's all you need to do. Now, I will tell you this. The mosquitoes are carrying away pets and small children at this point. So get your mosquito spray, spray yourself up real. At least they're eating me alive. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm getting killed over here. So get your mosquito spray, take some water with you and some food, some work gloves, a mask, and help your neighbors start tearing some of the sheetrock out and carrying an insulation, carrying furniture and wet stuff out of the house. That's really what we need a lot of help with. There are still areas of town that are inundated with water. So as those flood waters recede, then we can go in there and you could start helping those folks out as well. So that's the best thing to do. Now, people are going to ask me, hey, Jason, what about insurance? What about this? What about that? And I can tell you your insurance doesn't cover mold. At least most, I don't know of an insurance carrier that does. So your choice is either let your house sit there and get moldy and it gets worse, or you start cleaning it out. I will tell you Thursday night here at our office, if you go to rightpathrealestate.com, sign up for an event we're having. It's all about Harvey-related activities, post-Harvey, what happens now. I mean, that's really where we're at. What happens next? We've got 5 people on our panel, including Tom. We've got Benchmark Insurance. We've got Noble Mortgage. We've got, who else am I missing? Legacy Mutual Mortgage. We've got Fast Track there. We've got a whole group of experts who are going to talk about what to do in the immediate aftermath of an event like this, and then what the impact is going to be to people's portfolios. What's the impact going to be? Oh, we've got Michelle Emler there from Next Gen Appraisals as well. So we're going to have a whole list of folks that we're going to talk about how this is going to impact the Houston market and how to invest and what to invest in, all that sort of stuff. So there's been a lot of time spent talking about the human component of this. I want to talk a little about what's going to happen in the investment environment. And I want to start off by saying this. Whatever you think your house was worth before, if the neighborhood was flooded and or your house was flooded, we're starting completely over. I'm going to say that again. If you're a real estate investor, you're a homeowner, and your house was flooded or not, and then or the neighborhood was flooded, we're starting completely over. What does that mean? That means we don't know what a lot of these houses are worth now. That's just the honest truth here. We don't know what a lot of this stuff is worth anymore. I'll tell you this, we've been getting phone calls since Harvey made landfall and then inundated Houston. We've been getting a lot of phone calls. We've actually already bought one house that I know of, possibly 2, that were impacted by floodwaters. In fact, the first one that we bought, the current was moving so fast through this guy's house, it blew out 2 walls. You imagine that? I asked our sales team, hey, was the homeowner present when all this happened? They said no. After it got to about a foot high, he left. It got up to 6.5 feet and blew out 2 walls in the house. I said that has, if you were there for that had to have been incredibly scary. It tells you how fast that water was moving. So all that to say that what's the house worth today? I'll tell you what we thought it was worth before Harvey. We thought it was worth about $210,000. What's it worth today? No idea. And guess how many times that house has flooded before? None. What you thought you knew about what houses were worth and what houses were worth in certain neighborhoods has completely changed in the last week. We will not know what any of these things are worth until such time as the market comes back in that neighborhood. And what does that mean? Until houses start to be bought again. It's like the giant reset. This is it. This is the giant reset in Houston. What's a house worth in a neighborhood that flooded, even if the house didn't flood? Or what if the house flooded and it was the first time? What's the house worth? Or I think the worst case scenario, what if the house is flooded multiple times, but this time it was 6, 7, 8, up 10 feet up to the roof? What's that house worth now? I don't know. We'll find out. But I'll tell you is that, there's 3 different scenarios. Is a house worth more? Is it worth the same? Or is it worth less? And my guess is best case scenario, it's worth the same. In most cases, probably worth a lot less.
1 minute.
I'll talk a little bit about later on the impact to flood insurance. A lot of real estate investors. My phone exploded over the last couple of days. What do I do if I don't have insurance? If you're a real estate investor, aside from getting an SBA loan, you're going to be writing a check to get your house fixed. You should have flood insurance. If you can't self-insure, you got to have flood insurance. And if you didn't have flood insurance, those are really options. Or sell your house. That's the other option. We get back from the break. I got a special guest. It's Jason Bible, Right Path Real Estate.
Mic's off.
Okay.
You found or inherited a great investment property. Problem is, you don't know how much it's worth.
And your guest is on hold.
All right, you want to go ahead and make him live?
This is exactly why we started.
What'd you say?
You want to go ahead? Can he hear me?
Is a group of appraisers
Hold on 1 second. Let's see.
specializing in investment real estate. We understand that investors aren't just looking for a number of what their property is worth, but a comprehensive analysis of the market. Give NextGen a call at 713-346-9911 or check us out online
Hey, Scott.
at nextgenappraisals.com.
Are you expecting to close accurately, on time,
Scott?
and with lots of communication on your home purchase? You've come to the
Scott?
right
He can hear you.
place.
Scott,
I'm
you there?
Jennifer Hernandez, Senior Loan Officer with Legacy Mutual Mortgage.
Hold
Our
on.
goal is to give our borrowers and referral partners an amazing experience during the loan process. My team believes in putting people and culture before results. Our company concentrates on building those teams who operate with structure, process, and recognition for going the extra mile for you. This way, we have the energy to make this your best home purchase ever. Give us a call today to find out the simple steps to get started.
Hey Jay, he can't
I'm
hear
Jennifer
you through.
Hernandez, the Hernandez
he can't hear you
team
through
at
the
Legacy
board.
Mutual Mortgage.
Okay.
Is there something you wanted me to relate to him?
jennifer.legacymutual.com or call 713
well, how are we gonna
579
get him live on the radio?
3611.
No, we
Again,
can go live on the radio. I just thought you wanted to talk to him right now.
We can't wait
Oh,
to
yeah.
consult
Before
with
his
you
segment
soon.
starts.
So we can't do that? Okay.
514497.
Equal
No,
housing
we'll just
opportunity
wait-
lender.
we'll just wait for the
NMLS
segment.
514497.
Okay.
Have you ever experienced the pain of trying to get MLS comps for your hot lead? If you've lost deals waiting for MLS comps, you can understand the frustration. How much would it help you if you no longer had to wait for a real estate agent to get you the info you need to close a deal? Propelio is a brokerage website that gives you instant 24/7 access to high-equity lead lists and comps with access to a network of the top real estate agents. Get an edge on everyone else. Get a free 7-day trial today by going to getmlscomps.com now. That's getmlscomps.com.
Are you looking for an investor-friendly general contractor for your investment property? Then call Fast Track Remodeling.
Oh, Fast Track is going to be really busy.
I was thinking about them. Yeah, they're going to be hella busy.
You know,
Fast Track Remodeling specializes.
they
in
were already
turnkey
pretty busy
remodeling of
before.
single-family investment
So-
properties. Whether it's a flip rehab or a rental rehab,
How many
we
crews
manage
do they
every
have?
aspect of a rehab from start
Is
to
it
finish.
14?
With a highly efficient, standardized
Oh, that's a
process.
lot.
15, something like that. I mean, it's a massive. They got a massive
which has helped us to create
operation.
our 3 keys
I
to
wasn't
success.
thinking that money. That's a
Use
lot.
a detailed scope
So,
of work so that
Home
everything gets
Depot,
done,
the way they get their
train and
supplies
maintain quality
delivered,
crews so
Home
it gets
Depot
done
actually
right,
delivers
and
delivers it
complete
to the
work in
job
proper
site.
order so it
Okay.
gets
Well,
done
because
fast.
all the stuff
No
that
more
happened,
managing it
Home
yourself,
Depot has
no more doing the
suspended
work
that.
yourself.
So
Fast Track Remodeling really
Jeff
does
went up
manage it all.
and bought a
Give us a
box
call
truck.
today at
So they're going to have a guy that just drives
832-742-9992.
around and drops supplies off, you know, and
Oh, that's
materials.
cool.
That's 832-742-9992.
And then he told me that Home Depot's bringing in 1,000 employees into Houston.
Are
Wow.
small returns getting in the way of
It's
your
crazy. He said the
That
buses
sounds
have already
nice.
started to arrive, and
There's a better
yeah,
place
it's-
to invest. The
it's
experts
nuts.
agree, single-family real estate is one of the best investments you can make. Find
I
out
told
how
him just
JB
set up a
Fund
construction
Services offers
construction
9%
trailer on the west side of
preferred return
town.
and up to a
Hell
13%
yeah.
water
Just find like a Home
Call
Depot
us today
parking
at
lot and drop it in there.
281-915-0906 or visit our website, jbfundservices.com. That's 281-915-0906. This investment is offered to accredited investors.
Oh, the playlist just.
Time is
there
money
we
in a
go.
real estate
All right,
deal.
now we have 30
if your insurance
seconds.
company is slow or
Okay.
non-responsive, you could lose a deal like that. You need a quick turnaround on quotes, binders, and the agency for that is Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas. The team at Benchmark understands the investor mindset. They know what you need and when you need it. It's there for you. Call Houston's leading real estate risk management experts. Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas. 281-569-4353. That's 281-569-4353. Or online at benchmarkbroker.com.
This is Business 1110. Call Jason at 713-785-1817 and look for us on Facebook Live at facebook.com/RightPathRealEstate.
Hot mics in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, Jason Bible, Right Path Real Estate. I've got a special guest with me today, Dr. Scott Patlovich, Director of Environmental Health and Safety for the University of Texas Health Science Ctr at Houston. Dr. Patlovich, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Jason. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So I'm so glad you can be on the show with me today. One of the biggest questions that I get about Harvey and houses relates to mold, and what is it that people need to be worried about? What is it they need to do with their house? All that sort of stuff. So let's talk first about how mold kind of grows in a house. Like you get some water in the house, and then mold just starts multiplying. So maybe you explain how many hours, days it takes for that to happen. You know, where in a house you might find mold and that sort of thing.
Sure, no problem. First, let me just start by saying that I give my best to all of your listeners who may have been affected personally with their own homes or any of their properties. This is some tough times getting back on their feet if they've been flooded out. So mold is definitely an issue and a concern after any flooding event because there's three things that need to be in place in order for mold to grow in our indoor environments. And that is we need to have a cellulose-based food source, so whether that be your drywall, your carpets, your furniture, or things like that in your homes. You need water, and you need oxygen. And so you add in that flooding event, and you have the three things that are necessary for mold growth inside. Now, mold is ubiquitous in nature, and it's always around us, whether we know it or not. We're constantly breathing in mold spores when we step outside, and even inside your own home, you're going to have mold floating around in the air, so to speak, but at levels that we don't even notice unless you're hypersensitive and have allergies or other problems related to mold exposure. Most of us aren't going to notice it. But when we get to a point where mold is growing inside and we can see visible mold growth, that's obviously a problem, and we want to make sure that we remove those contaminated materials and remove the conditions that are conducive to mold growth. So we want to start by ripping out any mold-contaminated materials, and then we want to make sure that we dry your residential structures as soon as possible. So that you asked about time points. If water is so-called clean when it infiltrates into a home, the Environmental Protection Agency recommends that if you dry the materials out within 24 to 48 hours, you have a great chance of preventing mold growth indoors. However, if you surpass the 48-hour time period and you don't get your building materials, furniture, carpet dried out, then there is a high likelihood of mold growth.
So this is why that 24 to 40. Now you started the conversation with it's got to be relatively clean water, and I I've looked at this water and it's a little brown. It's Bayou Brown. That's what that's what we've called it lately, Bayou Brown. So that type of water, it sounds like. So if you've got if your house gets wet from a pipe leak, right? If it's a water source from let's say you get a sink that starts leaking, that sort of thing, or a water line that starts leaking in the house, you can probably do that. Dry it out, 24, 48 hours, not much mold growth. But with the Bayou Brown water that we've got in these houses, I'd imagine it's probably just best to go ahead and remove those materials from the house as quickly as possible.
Absolutely correct. So anything coming from a clean domestic source, if you had a pipe leak or something like that, other than a toilet, then you could clean up those areas and dry them out and save those materials if you get them cleaned out as soon as possible. But you're absolutely right. In a flooding event like this, we might as well just consider that water as if it's so-called black water, akin to any contaminated water that might come into your house from sewage or anything like that. So the Environmental Protection Agency does have some recommendations for drying out and saving different building materials, but in this case, I completely agree with you that removing and discarding those flood-affected materials is wise.
So we're looking at right now, and I've said this a couple of times this past week, and it's tough for homeowners. I mean, you've got a house full of stuff. Some cases you've lived in the same house for 30 or 40 years, and anything that's a porous material ends up on the curb, and electronics as well, all ends up on the curb. And that's been at least the way we're managing this with our tenants and some of the other folks that we're helping out, that there's just not much salvageable. When it gets exposed to that water and it gets exposed for that long, you really can't clean these things.
Yeah. Whether you're doing the remediation yourself or you're engaging a licensed contractor, which, by the way, is required here in the state of Texas, and we can get into that in a moment, they're most likely going to bring your flood-affected areas of your home all the way down to the slab and to the studs that remain, because most of those building materials, like your carpets, your drywall, your furniture, you're really not going to want to save any of those building materials from a flood event like this. You're right, that stuff goes out to the curb. You're going to want to go ahead and clean anything that remains inside. So if you have wood studs, you want to make sure that they're inspected to ensure they're still the integrity is maintained, that there's no wood rot, and they should be cleaned and thoroughly dried before any rebuilding occurs. Otherwise, you're just going to continue to have mold problems because you, again, have that moisture issue remaining.
Yeah, what we found in the last week is, let's say a couch or a mattress is exposed to rising water. It takes on 4, 5, 6 times its weight in water, and it doesn't matter how hard you try, you just can't dry these things out. And then when we're also cutting out drywall, we'll pull the insulation out, and you'll have what seems like gallons of water that just keep coming out of the structure. So I think there are some folks out there that think that, I can punch a couple holes in the sheetrock and stick a fan in here and it'll dry out. And it simply won't happen. It's too much water. It's too much porous material that's holding that water in.
Absolutely. I agree. One of the tricks for small leaks in your home is if it's affecting carpet and drywall, you can pull that. If it's clean water, you could pull that carpet back. You could remove perhaps the base trim from the drywall. You can poke a couple of holes and then get some fans on and dehumidifiers on that space right away. With these mass flooding events, simply not possible. Just like you mentioned, there's likely standing water inside your walls, and the wicking effect from the drywall is going to be drawing water up further than you might expect. So you're going to want to get a moisture meter and determine how high within your structure you need to rip out that drywall and go ahead and remove those affected materials as soon as possible. Even if you're past the 48 hours and you don't see mold growth, get it out of there and get your drying process started as soon as possible so that you don't have further mold problems within the home.
Yeah, I think there's not only a mold issue, and you talked a little about building material integrity. So when you start to have the sheetrock and this water starts to wick up the sheetrock in the house, I mean, this stuff, it literally crumbles in your hand. If any of y'all have done this remediation before in the past where you're removing, or demolition, where you're moving wet building materials, you try and cut the sheetrock out, and if you go above that water line, you can get a solid piece of sheetrock, but the rest of it literally just crumbles in your hands. I mean, it's completely lost all structural integrity. Although sheetrock doesn't have much integrity to it anyway, it's really just a covering. It's not meant to hold the house up, but you can feel in there just how it's lost all of its integrity, and all that stuff has got to go. So Scott, you talked about cutting out all the sheetrock above that line there where the water has wicked up, to make sure you've pulled all the building material out. So we've pulled out everything but the studs. And then what kind of treatment should we provide for the studs?
Sure. Let me talk about treatment in just a moment, and let me put my safety hat on real quickly for a moment, because we haven't really talked about protecting ourselves from mold exposure. For any of you who embark upon these remediation activities yourselves, you're going to want to protect yourselves. Don't touch any of the mold without some sort of protection, like protective gloves.
2 minutes.
You're going to want to avoid inhaling mold spores that could be potentially plumed when you're disturbing these contaminated building materials. And you're not going to want to touch your eyes and nose and things like that with any of your protective equipment that you might have on if you've been touching mold contaminated materials. So mold can affect us all differently in terms of exposure. There are no regulatory limits for mold exposures that currently exist. All of the guidance from the state of Texas under the Texas mold rules and the Environmental Protection Agency are to remove and discard of any mold contaminated materials, dry the structure out, and do so while protecting yourself. So the recommendation is to use protective gloves, protective eyewear such as safety glasses, or better yet, goggles. And then protect your clothing as well, because you're going to want to prevent spreading mold spores that might get onto your clothes to other non-affected areas of your home. So whether that be protective coveralls or a Tyvek suit, these are all recommendations as a kind of minimum protective equipment when remediating mold-affected areas. And then if there are large-scale mold contamination, you would increase the protection from there in terms of respiratory protection. And that's where you really want to consider bringing in the professionals for our large-scale contaminations, because you're going to want to make sure that the people doing the remediation are protected, and then you're also properly containing those spaces that are affected so that you're not spreading mold spores to other non-contaminated spaces of your home. So setting up plastic sheathing and doing the remediation work inside of that area of containment, bagging up the waste, whether it be drywall, carpet, whatever that you're pulling out that's mold contaminated, putting it in that bag and then bringing it out and throwing it in the dumpster so that you're not contaminating other spaces of your mold. Of your home, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is a messy job, that's for sure, and you do want to contain all the material in one place. So we've got about 30 seconds here. If folks are looking for additional information as it relates to mold and mold remediation, what are some good sources that you would recommend?
Well, here in the state of Texas, because we are a regulated state, I would recommend everybody Google Texas mold rules, and it'll take you to the Department of State Health Services webpage on the mold rules. You're going to want to make sure that if you're engaging a contractor, that they are licensed here in the state. You're going to have to get an assessment consultant and a licensed remediation company involved. And then absolutely go to the Environmental Protection Agency mold webpage. Just, again, type in EPA mold, and there's lots of guidance about remediating mold from residential homes, how to protect yourself, and how to dry out your home as quickly as possible to prevent future growth.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Patlovich. Thank you for being on the Right Path Real Estate radio show. Again, Dr. Scott Patlovich, Director of Environmental Health and Safety at the University of Texas Health Science Ctr at Houston. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks so much. My pleasure.
This is Jason Bible, Right Path Real Estate.
Mike's off.
Can Scott still hear me or no? No. I guess not, huh?
smaller
All right,
teams
I'll
get
give him a
in the
call.
way of your retirement plans.
All right,
Why
thanks.
settle for mediocre results? There's a better place to invest. The experts agree. Single-family real estate is one of the best investments you can make. Find out how JB Fund Services offers a 9% preferred return and up to a 13% waterfall. Call us today at 281-915-0906 or visit our website, jbfundservices.com. That's 281-915-0906. This investment is offered to accredited investors.
You found or inherited a great investment property. Problem is, you don't know how much it's worth, or more importantly, what to do to maximize your investment while mitigating risk. This is exactly why we started Next Gen Appraisals. Next Gen is a group of appraisers specializing in investment real estate. We understand that investors aren't just looking for a number of what their property is worth, but a comprehensive analysis of the market. Give Next Gen a call at 713-346-9911 or check us out online at nextgenappraisals.com.
Time is money in a real estate deal. If your insurance company is slow or non-responsive, you could lose a deal like that. You need a quick turnaround on quotes, binders, and the agency for that is Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas. The team at Benchmark understands the investor mindset. They know what you need and when you need it. It's there for you. Call Houston's leading real estate risk management experts, Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas, 281-569-4353. That's 281-569-4353. Or online at benchmarkbroker.com.
Have you ever experienced the pain of trying to get MLS comps for your hot lead? If you've lost deals waiting for MLS comps, you can understand the frustration. How much would it help you if you no longer had to wait for a real estate agent to get you the info you need to close a deal? Propelio is a brokerage website that gives you instant 24/7 access to high-equity lead lists and comps with access to a network of the top real estate agents. Get an edge on everyone else. Get a free 7-day trial today by going to getmlscomps.com now. That's getmlscomps.com.
Do you have cracks in your brick, doors that stick, or sheetrock that's coming apart? Then you may have foundation movement. Due to our expansive soils in the Houston area, it's probably not a question of if you have movement, but when. Call Foundation Check for a truly independent, unbiased foundation evaluation. Foundation Check has been in business since 2009 and has completed over 1,400 evaluations. We're not in the business of repairing foundations or selling you unnecessary peer work, but we are in the business of evaluating your foundation. Our product is designed for house flippers, landlords, or even owner-occupied properties. Each of our files is reviewed by a licensed engineer. Remember to check before every repair. Call 346-702-3825. That's 346-702-3825. Or you can reach us online at foundationcheck.com. That's foundationcheck.com.
Did you know that there are over $24 trillion in retirement accounts in the U.S.? Imagine if you could use someone's IRA to fund all of your deals. Well, you can. Quest IRA is based locally here in Houston, Texas. At Quest IRA, we offer retirement accounts that can be used to invest in real estate, promissory notes, private entities, and much more. Many of our clients loan money from their IRAs to fund real estate deals all over the country. We don't sell any investments or give advice. However, we do hold free networking events, weekly educational classes, and free consultations with an IRA specialist. For more information, visit our website at questira.com or call us at 1-855-FUN-IRAs. To tap into the $24 trillion in retirement accounts in the U.S., call Quest IRA at 1-855-FUN-IRAs or go to our website, questira.com.
Time is money in a real estate deal. If your insurance company is slow or non-responsive, you could lose a deal like that. You need a quick turnaround on quotes, binders, and the agency for that is Benchmark.
All right, Nikki, I'm back.
The team at Benchmark understands the investor mindset. They know what you need and when you need it. It's there for you. Call Houston's leading real estate risk management experts, Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas, 281-569-4353. That's 281-569-4353. Or online at benchmarkbroker.com.
This is Business 1110. Call Jason at 713-785-1817 and look for us on Facebook Live at facebook.com/rightpathrealestate.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Jason Bible, Right Path Real Estate. Talked to Dr. Patlovich there on the phone. I think we're going to have him on again. We'll give it a couple more weeks here. And I'm hearing one thing. If there's one thing I can really encourage you guys on, do not wait for your insurance inspector to come to your house before you start remediation. In other words, before you start tearing out all of that wet stuff. Start now. If you don't start, you've got a pretty small window before you have a really big mess on your hands. Start pulling that stuff out now. Start drying that house out now. Now's the time to be doing that. Don't wait for your insurance person to show up. Don't wait for your adjuster to show up and take care of the problem. We're going to get, as soon as that water recedes and it's safe for you to enter the neighborhood, then start working on the house. That's another thing I really want to caution you guys on. And it's happened. I've got to tell you, it was an absolute miracle that so few people were injured or the very few fatalities from the rescue efforts. We've seen a couple of folks that were electrocuted when accessing properties that were wet. I know we had some rescuers whose boat hit a down power line. Be extremely cautious in these flooded neighborhoods. I was out in the Ashford Forest subdivision. We have a property out there that was not flooded, but the streets were flooded. Some of the houses, I think, towards the back of the neighborhood near Buffalo Bayou were flooded. And I could hear generators running. There are a number of houses there that have automatic transfer switches and automatic generators that when the power goes out, they automatically kick on. And they run on gas. Not gasoline, but natural gas. And they're running, providing electricity. And if those houses are flooded and the generators are running, they're producing electricity for the house. And that could be, that has the potential to be an enormous safety issue if you're accessing that property or the property next door. And you can get electrocuted, and it will. I mean, there was a gentleman who was killed by a landscape light that wasn't grounded properly because it was full of water. So, or actually, the backyard was full of water. So, be extremely careful in accessing these areas. I know it looks like this is the problem with a lot of homeowners. You're so familiar with it's your house and it's your neighborhood, and you've lived there 30 years, and it is I'll tell you, the game is completely changed when it's all full of water. It's not just your house anymore. It's not just your neighborhood. It is a disaster area. It's where you're going to do a substantial amount of construction. It's a work site now, and it comes with all of those risks, all of those hazards on that work site. Be extremely careful when in your house. I'd highly recommend just turn the power off at the breaker. Just shut it down. That way there's no surprises. You don't get electrocuted as you're taking the water out of those houses. So I highly recommend getting all that wet building material out there and move it out to the curb. Just get it away from the house and dry that house out as soon as possible. So in any case, thanks, Dr. Patlovich. It was great to have you on. All right, now let's talk about what's going to happen in Houston real estate. Here's what we know. We know that the flood will absolutely impact values. Now, will those values stay the same? Will they go up? Will they go down? It all depends on who you ask. But none of it really matters until buyers start buying again. I'll tell you what, we had houses that are, and we still have some houses that are in escrow. In other words, we're waiting for them to close at the title company. And some of these properties we can't close yet because we can't get into these neighborhoods. We know the houses are okay, but we can't get into the neighborhood yet to assess the property and make sure it's fine. So I highly, those of you who are buying houses right now, those of you who are considering houses, what are they worth? I don't know. I'd started the show off with a property we had bought this past weekend that had sustained substantial damage, 6.5 feet of water, blew out 2 walls. It's going to be every bit of $150,000 rehab. Now, what's incredible about that number is if you had a house that experienced 6, 7, 8 feet of water, and it's a $150,000 house, it needs $150,000 rehab, what's the house worth? it's worth about nothing. That's the reality. Houses below $200,000 that received rainfall or floodwaters that rose 6, 7, 8 feet in a one-story house, it's likely the house is worth what the rehab is. When you start to get into $100,000 houses, the house is not the rehab is going to be more than the house is worth. It really is. That's the hard part of this situation. Now, I will tell you this. Construction costs are increasing because we've got so much construction that's got to take place here in Houston. I'm seeing estimates of 80,000 houses and 80,000, 100,000, 150,000 houses. I'm not quite so sure that number is correct. We will see. But that number seems extremely high whenever I start looking at the maps and I'm looking at neighborhood data and all that. But let's just assume right now it's 100,000 houses. We've got to do construction on 100,000 houses, as far as 2 feet from the floor all the way up to the roof. So contractors, general contractors and subcontractors and their trades, prices are going up. That's just the reality. There's just not enough contractors to rebuild 200,000 houses in a handful of months in Houston. Trust me on that one, there's not. I could tell you right now, when these hedge funds moved into Houston and started rehabbing houses, they'd buy 50, 60, 80, 100 houses in a month, and they couldn't find enough crews to rehab those houses fast enough to be able to put them back on the market. So the reality is there's just not enough contractors out there. The second issue is building material. Now, I've heard through the grapevine, if you will, that Home Depot has routed every piece of sheetrock and building material down here to Houston. We're seeing that in the gasoline side. I see people on Facebook say, "Oh, there's no gasoline shortage," which is technically true. However, talk to the folks in as far north as Plano or as far north as Georgetown, which is north of Austin, and there are very much gas shortages there, in part because so many gas transportation companies are directing everything to Houston. They can't slow the recovery effort down, so we need fuel. When Harvey had started flooding Houston, I got on Facebook and I told everybody gasoline will be as precious as blood in the city of Houston, and thank God it hasn't, because we've been inundated with fuel storage, but with fuel transportation ultimately coming out of some different fuel storages across the country. But I'll tell you what, gasoline is incredibly crucial, and it is just about as valuable as blood during the recovery efforts, which, speaking of blood, I had heard on the radio that we are short here in the city of Houston. So giveblood.org and then go give some blood, because they've been out for a week and people have been injured and that sort of thing. So they definitely need blood as well. So
1 minute.
In any case, at the other side of the break, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the asset side of this business. But I will let you know, start rehabbing these houses now. Do not wait for your insurance agent. Do not wait for the adjuster. You want to get this stuff out of these houses. You want to get it as dry, as fast as possible. And I know we get a lot of people that watch the show on Facebook or listen to us nationally. If there's one thing we need help in the city of Houston with, is its demolition. If you really want to donate some time, hop on a plane, fly on down here, just find a neighborhood that got flooded and start knocking on doors. It's literally that simple. It doesn't have to be a big social media campaign. You don't have to set up a GoFundMe page. You don't have to post 100 times on Facebook. Just fly down here, find a neighborhood, grab 2 of your buddies, start knocking on doors. Help them take that furniture out, help them take that sheetrock out. That's all it takes, just some manpower. And some lady power. We need some woman power, too. We get back from the break, we're going to talk more about real estate and the impact of Hurricane Harvey. It's Jason Bible, Right Path Real Estate.
Mic's off.
Time is money in a real estate deal. If your insurance company is slow or non-responsive, you could lose a deal like that. You need a quick turnaround on quotes or binders? The agency for that is Benchmark Insurance Group of Texas. The team at Benchmark understands the investor mindset. They know what you need and when you need it. we're here for you. Are you a rehabber, wholesaler, buy and hold, or flipper? Bundling your properties on a single policy will help save time and money. Benchmark has been in business for over 10 years, and we insure over 30,000 properties. Contact Benchmark about our exclusive investor package. Call us and let us show you what we can do for you at 281-569-4353. That's 281-569-4353. Or online at benchmarkbroker.com. That's benchmarkbroker.com. That's 281-569-4353. Or online at benchmarkbroker.com.
Do you have cracks in your brick, doors that stick, or sheetrock that's coming apart? Then you may have foundation movement. Due to our expansive soils in the Houston area, it's probably not a question of if you have movement, but when. Call Foundation Check for a truly independent, unbiased foundation evaluation. Foundation Check has been in business since 2009 and has completed over 1,400 evaluations. We're not in the business of repairing foundations or selling you unnecessary peer work, but we are in the business of evaluating your foundation. Our product is designed for house flippers, landlords, or even owner-occupied properties. Each of our files is reviewed by a licensed engineer. Remember to check before every repair. Call 346-702-3825. That's 346-702-3825. Or you can reach us online at foundationcheck.com. That's foundationcheck.com.
Investor loans offering up to 100% financing are still available. You just have to know where to look. Look no further than Noble Mortgage. Noble Mortgage is a full-service mortgage company that's been helping investors since 2003. Noble Mortgage offers up to 100% financing to investors that covers purchase, repairs, and closing costs. In addition to private money, Noble Mortgage offers conventional loans, FHA, and even no-income documentation loans for both residential and commercial properties. Call and ask about our 5-point guarantee, which includes free pre-qualifications within 2 business days. Call 713-680-8100 or visit noblemoney.com. That's noblemoney.com. Our team has over 50 years experience in the mortgage industry. Call us today, 713-680-8100, or visit us on the web, noblemoney.com, noblemoney.com.
NMLS 292143, 8203 Willow Place Drive, Houston, Texas, 77070.
Are you looking for an investor-friendly general contractor for your investment property? Then call Fast Track Remodeling at 832-742-9992 or reach us on the web at fasttrackremodeling.com.
Fast Track Remodeling specializes in turnkey remodeling of single-family investment properties. Whether it's a flip rehab or a rental rehab, we manage every aspect of a rehab from start to finish with a highly efficient, standardized process.
Over the last 6 years, Fast Track has completed over 700 projects, which has helped us to create our 3 keys to success. Use a detailed scope of work so that everything gets done, train and maintain quality crews so it gets done right, and complete the work in a proper order so it gets done fast.
No more managing it yourself, no more doing the work yourself. Fast Track Remodeling really does manage it all.
So give us a call today at 832-742-9992. Again, that's 832-742-9992, or reach us on the web at fasttrackremodeling.com.
This is Business 1110. Call Jason at 713-785-1817 and look for us on Facebook Live at facebook.com/RightPathRealEstate.
All right, 1, here we go.
Welcome back. Jason Bible, Right Path Real Estate. We got an event coming up this Thursday. Got a panel of experts. We're going to sit down and talk about the impact of Hurricane Harvey on the real estate investing environment. We've already gotten phone calls from homeowners who've said, they literally call and say this: I'm done. I'm done. This may be their first flood. It may be their 3rd, 4th, 5th. They're done. They're either going to move somewhere in Houston that does not flood, or they're moving out of Houston, period. We're getting a ton of those phone calls right now. And the problem is, for real estate investors, you got 2 unknowns. What's the house worth? And how much is it going to cost to rehab? And what do I need to do in that rehab to ensure that the dwelling is safe to occupy once the rehab's completed. We're going to talk about those three things this Thursday. Starts at 6 o'clock here at our office. 11451 Katy Freeway. It's right there at Kirkwood and I-10. If you go to rightpathrealestate.com or facebook.com/rightpathrealestate, you can sign up there. We're going to have a very long discussion over what it takes to survive an event like this. And that's really what's happening. I know a lot of real estate investors out there, know a lot of homeowners, but I know a lot of real estate investors that don't have flood insurance. And fortunately for homeowners, FEMA will step in. They'll write some checks. Trust me, if you don't have flood insurance, just give it some time. FEMA's going to figure out what to do. Once Congress gets together and figures out what they're going to do, they're going to write some checks. Those of you who are real estate investors are not going to be that fortunate. You've got SBA loans, and that's about it, aside from your personal checking account, if you're not covered for flood. Unless you got an NFIP policy or you have a private insurance policy that covers flood, you are not covered. And I can tell you, sitting there and waiting for FEMA to ride in on a white horse is not going to help. You need to go ahead and start moving those building materials, get those tenants to start moving that stuff out. Trust me, now you've got a critical 7 days. The next 7 days are going to determine the value of the structure. In other words, how much rehab you're going to have to do. If you wait, it gets worse.
1 minute.
So start moving that stuff out now. If you guys want to learn what to do in Houston real estate, our predictions for the market, what to do, where's it going to go, how to buy, how to sell, how to finance these things, how to rehab them, how to determine what construction costs are. We're going to talk about all those things this Thursday, 6 p.m. Sign up at rightpathrealestate.com. We'll see you there. By the way, we've got our weekend retreat coming up at the very last weekend of September. Yes, it is still on.
30 seconds.
Go to rightpathrealestate.com. You can sign up there for our weekend retreat where we share with you how we invest in Houston and now Dallas. We're doing deals in Dallas now. Houston, Dallas real estate. It's Jason Bible, Right Path Real Estate. Thanks for listening. Tom will be on the show tomorrow talking about how to build your team. It's Build Your Team Tuesday.
10 seconds.
Thanks for listening.
All right, Jay, have a good one.
All right, you too. Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Right Path Real Estate Radio. Find and Tom at